Okay, so get ready because we're diving into a legal battle today. And, well, it started as a simple insurance claim, but quickly unraveled into a potential conspiracy.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it is. And we're talking about a case where two sisters, Brittany Henry and Shania Richmond, went up against major insurance companies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like Assurant Insurance Agency, GICO, and American Bankers Insurance Company of Florida.
So like the big guys?
Exactly. And this
Yeah.
all happened after their apartment was damaged in a flood.
Okay, so a classic David versus Goliath situation.
You got it. And what's even more interesting is that it's not just about the insurance companies. We've also got the Kavanaugh law firm representing the defendants, and their actions throughout the case raise serious concerns about potential collusion and, ethical violations.
So you're saying this case might expose some vulnerabilities within our justice system?
Absolutely. And the way this whole thing unfolds, it's like a legal thriller.
Oh, I love a good legal thriller.
Me too. And trust me, this one has unexpected twists and turns that really challenge your understanding of fairness and impartiality in the courtroom.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So let's start from the beginning. The sisters filed their insurance claim after the flood, pretty standard procedure.
Right.
But their claim was denied, forcing them to file a lawsuit alleging breach of contract, bad faith, and negligence against the insurance companies.
So they were basically forced to take legal action.
Exactly. And what's important to note is that initially, the case seemed to be progressing smoothly under Judge Brett Ostrowski. However, just before a crucial hearing, Judge Ostrowski was abruptly replaced by Judge Christopher Whitten.
And that's when things went south.
You could say that Judge Whitten struck down the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment, and it wasn't based on any legal arguments, but because of a minor formatting technicality.
Hey, really? A formatting technicality?
Can you believe that? And to make it even more strange, neither the previous judge nor the opposing counsel had even mentioned it.
That's so bizarre. It makes you wonder what Judge Whitten's motives were.
Right. Was he truly concerned about formatting, or is this a deliberate attempt to derail the plaintiff's case?
It definitely raises some red flags.
And it gets even more suspicious. Judge Whitten granted the sisters 30 days to refile their motion, but then ruled in favor of the defendants before the deadline even arrived.
So he basically denied them a fair chance to present their case?
Exactly. It's like he was determined to ensure a victory for the insurance companies regardless of, the actual merits of the case.
That's pretty concerning.
And just to add insult to injury, Judge Whitten ordered the sisters to pay the defendant's attorney fees a staggering amount exceeding $33,000.
Wow, that's a huge financial burden on top of everything else they were going through.
Right, and it really sends a chilling message that even if you have a legitimate claim, the legal system can be used to punish you for speaking out.
It's like they were being penalized for daring to challenge these powerful insurance companies.
Exactly. So at this point, the sisters and their lawyer were like, okay, something is seriously wrong here.
Yeah, I'd be suspicious too.
So they started investigating Judge Whitten's background, and what they discovered was a pattern of questionable rulings.
Like he had a history of making bad calls.
Yeah, and many of these rulings were later overturned by the Court of Appeals.
So it wasn't just a one-time thing.
Nope, it seemed to be a pattern. And here's where the Kavanaugh law firm comes back into the picture.
Okay, how so?
Well, many of the cases where Judge Whitten's rulings were reversed involved him siding with defense firms, particularly those similar to Kavanaugh, who were representing the insurance companies in the sisters' case.
So there's a potential connection there.
Exactly. It's starting to look like there might be more to this than just one bad judge.
It's like a puzzle where the pieces start to fit together.
Right. And this discovery shifts the focus from individual misconduct to a potential systemic issue.
Because if there's a pattern of judges consistently ruling in favor of specific law firms that undermines the entire concept of impartial judgment.
And then, to make things even more interesting, the investigation revealed a prior relationship between Judge Whitten and the Kavanaugh law firm.
Oh, wow. So there's a direct link.
Yeah, it's all starting to come together, and it's pointing towards a potential conspiracy.
This is getting intense.
Oh, it is. And facing this seemingly insurmountable obstacle, the sisters decided to take things up a notch. They filed a formal complaint against Judge Whitten with the Arizona Commission on Judicial Conduct, hoping to expose his bias and misconduct.
It seems like the right move to make.
It does, but guess what?
What?
Their complaint was mysteriously dismissed without any explanation.
Seriously? That's so shady.
Right, it really makes you question the commission's commitment to investigating allegations against judges.
Especially when those allegations involve potential collusion with powerful law firms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, feeling like they were hitting a brick wall, the sisters reached out to the Gilbert Police Department. They provided them with evidence of Judge Whitten's questionable rulings, his connection to the Kavanaugh law firm, and all the suspicious circumstances surrounding their case.
So they were basically handing them a case on a silver platter.
You could say that. And what's remarkable is that the Gilbert police initially took their claims seriously. They investigated the allegations and even began preparing to arrest Judge Whitten.
Wow. On what charges?
Charges of public corruption, bribery, and collusion.
So it seemed like they were finally going to get some justice.
You would think so, right? But then everything changed. After communicating with the Arizona Attorney General's office, the Gilbert police suddenly backed off.
Hold on, they were going to arrest him and then they just stopped?
Yep. Instead of arresting Judge Whitten, they sent the sisters a vague and unprofessional letter referring the case to the Phoenix Police Department.
But didn't you say the sisters lived in Gilbert?
I did. It makes no sense.
This is so frustrating. It sounds like the Attorney General's office might be trying to protect Judge Whitten.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
To make matters worse, the sisters couldn't get a response from anyone at the Arizona Attorney General's office.
They just completely ignored them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They tried contacting Attorney General Chris Mays, Assistant Attorneys General Scott G. Teasdale, and Todd Lawson, even Todd Lawson's Secretary Stacey Kenez, but nothing.
Wow, they were completely stonewalled.
Exactly. And this lack of response is deeply troubling. It suggests a deliberate attempt to prevent the sisters from seeking accountability, and the Attorney General's office is supposed to be an institution that upholds the law.
Right, so to see them potentially hindering the pursuit of justice is very concerning.
Agreed. So, to bolster their case and uncover further evidence of potential collusion, the sisters and their lawyer dug even deeper into Judge Whitten's past rulings.
And what did they find?
They discovered another case, Carter Oil Company versus Arizona Department of Revenue, where Judge Whitten had ruled in favor of Carter Oil.
And wait a minute, who was representing Carter Oil?
You guessed it, the Kavanaugh law firm.
Of course they were.
It's like they were everywhere. And just to add to the suspicion, this ruling was later overturned by the Court of Appeals.
It's almost too perfect. It's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
I know, it's crazy. So what started as a straightforward insurance claim has now transformed into this complex web of potential corruption, collusion, and a possible cover-up.
It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right? And it seems like powerful entities within the legal system, including a judge, a prominent law firm, and even the state attorney general's office are working together to obstruct justice and protect their own interests.
This case really raises serious questions about the integrity of our judicial system and whether ordinary citizens can truly expect a fair trial when powerful interests are at play.
It's a chilling thought, and it highlights the urgent need for transparency, accountability, and reforms that safeguard against corruption and ensure equal access to justice for everyone.
I couldn't agree more.
Now let's dive even deeper into the specific allegations of collusion between Kavanaugh law and various state entities, and examine the evidence that suggests a coordinated effort to obstruct justice and protect those in power.
Let's do it.
One of the most compelling pieces of evidence is the timing of Kavanaugh law's contact with the plaintiff's counsel. They reached out before even being formally served with the lawsuit.
So they knew about it before they were supposed to.
Exactly, which suggests they had access to insider information.
That's a big red flag. Someone within the court system might have been tipping them off.
And remember, this happened 2 years after the events that led to the lawsuit.
So it's not like they were just monitoring court dockets for potential cases.
Right. They knew about this specific case before it was even officially filed.
That's highly suspicious.
And the court librarian confirmed that there's no established procedure for notifying parties of lawsuits without formal service.
So they definitely shouldn't have had that information.
And then there's the whole issue of the Arizona Department of Insurance's refusal to investigate the plaintiff's claims.
They just ignored the whole thing.
Pretty much, despite evidence suggesting potential misconduct by the insurance companies, the department ignored multiple public records requests and emails.
It's like they were deliberately turning a blind eye.
Exactly. And the Department of Insurance has a duty to investigate these types of allegations. So their refusal to even acknowledge the plaintiff's concerns is a major red flag.
It definitely suggests an effort to protect the insurance companies.
And to make matters worse, the Arizona Corporation Commission revealed that the Department of Insurance had instructed them to withhold any further documentation regarding JICO and Assurant.
So they were actively trying to prevent the plaintiffs from getting the information they needed.
Yep. It's like they were going out of their way to shield these insurance companies from scrutiny.
Why would they do that unless they had something to hide?
Exactly. The more we dig into this case, the more it seems like a coordinated effort to obstruct justice.
It's like everyone's working together to protect the powerful and keep the truth hidden.
Right? And it's important to remember the human cost of this alleged collusion. The sisters not only lost their insurance claim and faced a mountain of legal debt, but they were also subjected to potential extortion and intimidation by Kavanaugh law.
They were essentially being punished for trying to seek justice.
It's a stark reminder that justice isn't always blind. Sometimes it seems like the scales are tipped in favor of those with wealth and influence.
And that leaves ordinary citizens struggling to navigate a system that's seemingly designed to protect the powerful.
This case is just one example of how corruption can permeate our institutions and the importance of holding those in power accountable.
It's a reminder that we can't be complacent. We need to stay informed, speak out, and fight for a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely. As we've been talking about this case, it really seems like the allegations of corruption go way beyond just a simple insurance dispute.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. And the sisters' lawyer, Mike Siegel, even suggested that the actions of Judge Whitten, the Kavanaugh law firm, and, potentially other involved parties could actually be violations of RICO.
RICO?
Yeah, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act.
Oh, wow. RICO, that's usually used to combat organized crime, like mob stuff, right?
Exactly, but it's evolved over time to encompass a wider range of criminal enterprises, including those operating within seemingly legitimate systems.
Like the legal system.
So basically, it's become a powerful tool for prosecuting individuals and organizations involved in ongoing patterns of illegal activity.
I see. So how does a case involving a flooded apartment and a disputed insurance claim connect to something like RICO?
Right. It does seem kind of like a leap. But when you look at the pattern of alleged misconduct we've uncovered, it starts to make sense.
Okay. I'm listening.
So we've got the judge's bias rulings, the law firm's aggressive tactics, and the potential cover-up by state agencies. All these things together could actually be interpreted as a racketeering scheme under RICO.
Yeah. That's interesting, but I need a bit more explanation. Like, what are the specific elements of RICO that might apply here?
Good question. So to establish a racketeering activity, you need to prove three main things: a pattern of racketeering activity, the existence of an enterprise, and a connection between the enterprise and the illegal activity.
Okay, so break that down for me. In this case, what would be considered racketeering activity?
Well, the allegations against Judge Whitten, if they're true, could definitely fall into that definition.
How so?
Think about it. His consistent rulings in favor of the Kavanaugh law firm, even though they seem to go against Arizona case law and judicial ethics that suggest there might be bribery or extortion going on.
Oh, I see. And RICO covers a pretty wide range of offenses, right?
Yeah, it does things like bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, fraud, all that juicy stuff.
Okay. And what about the enterprise? Would that just be the Kavanaugh law firm?
It could be, but it might also be broader than that, like a whole network of individuals and entities all working together to achieve this illegal purpose.
So like a team of bad guys.
Basically, and in this case, the enterprise might include Judge Whitten, members of the Kavanaugh law firm, and potentially even people within state agencies who helped facilitate the scheme.
So it could be a pretty big operation.
Exactly. And the connection between them would be the potential benefits each member received through their actions. Like Judge Whitten might have gotten bribes or favors from the Kavanaugh law firm in exchange for those favorable rulings.
And the law firm would benefit financially by winning cases for their clients.
Right. And any state agencies involved might benefit by maintaining this corrupt system that serves their interests or protects powerful entities from scrutiny.
So everyone's getting something out of it.
It's a classic case of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but on a much larger and more sinister scale.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. But are there any specific examples from the sisters case that could be considered racketeering activity under our law?
Oh, absolutely. There are several instances that really stand out, like, for example, Judge Whitten's decision to strike the plaintiff's second summary judgment motion. Remember that?
Yeah, the one based on the formatting technicality.
That's the one. And that could actually be interpreted as obstruction of justice, especially since neither the previous judge nor opposing counsel had any objections to the formatting.
And then he ruled in favor of the defendants before the plaintiffs even had a chance to refile.
Right. He basically denied them their right to due process, and then to make matters worse, he ordered them to pay those exorbitant attorney fees.
All of that together really paints a picture of a judge who was intentionally manipulating the legal process.
And likely doing it to benefit the Kavanaugh law firm and their clients.
So those actions could be considered a pattern of racketeering activity aimed at obstructing justice and enriching members of the alleged enterprise.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the Kavanaugh law firm's alleged attempts to extort money from the sisters.
Oh, right. They threatened to cause them more legal trouble unless they paid up.
Yep, classic extortion, and that definitely falls under the RACO umbrella.
So this whole case that started with a flooded apartment could potentially expose this huge network of corruption involving all these powerful people and institutions.
It's crazy, right? And it's all thanks to RICO, which allows prosecutors to target the whole organization, not just individuals.
So they can expose the full scope of the criminal scheme.
Exactly. But as we've discussed, the sisters faced a lot of pushback in their attempts to expose this alleged corruption.
Yeah, their ethics complaint was dismissed. The police backed off and the Attorney General's office went silent.
It's like they were hitting a wall of silence everywhere they turned.
And that's not uncommon in cases involving potential high-level corruption.
Right. It's like a coordinated effort to protect those in power and prevent any real investigation that could expose wrongdoing.
It's incredibly frustrating because the institutions that are supposed to uphold the law and ensure accountability are actually working against the people seeking justice.
It's a messed up situation, but thankfully the sisters didn't give up. They kept gathering information, uncovering connections, and documenting everything. It's inspiring to see their persistence in the face of all that adversity.
It really is. They understood that even if they didn't get immediate justice, exposing this corruption was important for raising public awareness and potentially leading to systemic change.
They knew that their story could empower others to challenge injustice and demand accountability.
And their lawyer, Mike Siegel, deserves a lot of credit for his creative and strategic approach to this whole thing.
Like how he used the adoptive admission concept to expose Judge Whitten's potential bias.
That was brilliant. Can you explain how that worked?
Sure. So adoptive admission is basically a legal concept where someone's silence or failure to deny an accusation can be interpreted as an admission of guilt.
So basically saying nothing is the same as saying yes.
In a legal sense, yeah. So Siegel sent Judge Whitten this detailed email outlining all the allegations against him, the bias rulings, the suspicious circumstances, everything.
And a judge facing those kinds of accusations would normally issue a strong denial, right?
Exactly. They'd want to defend their reputation and assert their impartiality, but Judge Whitten didn't do that.
Nope. Instead, he just chastised Siegel for sending the email, like he was trying to deflect attention from the actual accusations.
So by choosing not to deny the allegations, especially with all that evidence against him, he basically admitted to them.
His silence was his downfall.
Pretty much Siegel cleverly used the judge's own inaction against him. It shows how strategic legal maneuvering can be really powerful when you're going up against powerful entities.
This whole case is like a masterclass in legal strategy.
It really is. But beyond all the legal stuff, the sisters' story raises some really important questions about the fairness and integrity of our justice system.
Like, can we really trust that justice is blind when it seems like those with money and influence can manipulate the system to their advantage?
It's a valid concern, and their case highlights the challenges of holding powerful people accountable, the potential for corruption, and the need for constant vigilance in protecting the rights of everyday citizens.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in making sure that justice is truly served.
And that even in a system that can seem rigged, there's still hope for those who are willing to fight for what's right.
It's really unsettling to think that if this kind of corruption could happen to the Henry sisters, it could potentially happen to anyone.
Yeah, it really makes you question the fairness of the whole system.
Right. And the fact that the sources we have don't give us a clear ending to their story is frustrating.
Totally. It leaves us with so many unanswered questions.
Like, did the Gilbert police ever actually arrest Judge Whitten? Did the FBI get involved because of the potential RK violations? And what about the Arizona Attorney General's office? Did they ever investigate those allegations of misconduct?
The story just ends abruptly, and we're left wondering if anyone was ever held accountable.
Exactly. And that lack of transparency is really troubling.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if the whole thing was just swept under the rug to protect powerful interests.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of justice isn't always easy, especially when you're up against people with a lot of power and influence.
Absolutely. But despite all of that, the Henry sisters case is still a powerful example of the importance of persistence, courage, and speaking out against injustice.
Even if they didn't get the answers they were looking for, they brought this whole issue to light, and that's a huge step.
It definitely is. And their story highlights the critical role that investigative journalism, whistleblowers, and legal advocacy groups play in exposing corruption and holding those in power accountable.
Without them, these cases might never even see the light of day, and the corruption could just continue unchecked.
And their lawyer, Mike Siegel, he deserves so much credit for his dedication and his creative legal strategy.
Wait, like that whole adoptive admission thing? That was genius.
It really was. It shows how important it is to have skilled legal representation, especially when you're going up against powerful adversaries.
It's a reminder that even within a system that can seem rigged, there's still hope for those who are willing to fight.
This whole deep dive has really been an eye-opener.
I know. What about you?
I mean, it's made me question the systems I thought I understood and appreciate the courage of people like the Henry sisters who stand up to injustice, even when the odds are stacked against them.
It's a reminder that we can't just sit back and assume everything's okay. We have to be active participants in protecting our rights and fighting for a more just world.
So what can we do as individuals to actually make a difference?
Well, we can start by staying informed, reading articles, following investigative journalists, supporting organizations that are fighting for transparency and accountability.
And we can't be afraid to speak out, whether it's reporting potential misconduct, contacting our elected officials, or even just talking about these issues with our friends and family.
Right. Our voices matter and we need to use them.
This case has also highlighted how important it is to have access to legal representation.
Absolutely. The Henry sisters were lucky to have Mike Siegel on their side, but not everyone has that privilege.
So we need to advocate for policies that ensure equal access to justice for everyone, regardless of their income or social status.
That means supporting legal aid organizations, promoting pro bono work, and pushing for reforms that make the justice system more affordable and accessible for everyone.
Because at the end of the day, the pursuit of justice is a collective effort.
It requires all of us to be vigilant, courageous, and committed to truth and fairness.
The Henry sisters' story, even with all its unanswered questions, is a call to action for all of us.
It reminds us that we all have a role to play in protecting the integrity of our institutions, and ensuring that justice is truly blind and that everyone has an equal chance to be heard.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage everyone listening to think about what resonated with you the most.
What are your thoughts on the potential for corruption within our systems? And what actions, big or small, can you take to promote a more just and equitable society?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into a truly complex and thought-provoking case.
Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep fighting for a better world.
We'll see you next time.